Yo, it's me, Dr. Magic, who's gonna become a legend, and right now I'm going over everything I want to see in the Hypixel Skyblock dungeon update. Hopefully by the time I get everything done, the update won't be released, but I mean, by the pace that's going, it's not gonna be released, so we're good. With that joke aside, let's get right into Skyblock. Okay, number one, and what I think is the most important, is the fact that I want dungeons not to be able to be soloed or doable. We already do know that this is going to be true, which makes me really happy. Because all the current content in Skyblock can pretty much be soloed, and one of the greatest aspects of video games is the fact that tons of people from around the world can come together and create communities for games. One of the reasons I really enjoy playing Minecraft is because of the community. You can see like so many different people from like a whole bunch of different groups come together and enjoy the same thing, and that's one of the great things about video games. So if Hypixel Skyblock can allow people to do groups of 4, and then those people will be able to create new friends with the people they do dungeons with. And currently in Skyblock, there isn't really a point to team up with players except for doing dragons and technically slayers, although I have never heard of anybody teaming up to do slayer quests. And then by creating dungeons, there will actually be a need to team up with other people. And as of right now, the only community aspect for Skyblock is guilds and like Discord servers for only trading and selling items. And or like god splashes. So there isn't even that much cooperation within the current guilds. So that, or they might help you out with like giving you stuff, but that's not really you becoming friends. That's just a monetary transaction between the two of you. You're not going to become friends off of selling items to other players. Now let's get off this tangent and talk about multiplayer games. And the reason why multiplayer games are much more popular than single player is because you can play with your friends and just hang out with each other. People love hanging out with your friends. I'm gonna say this again, but Skyblock right now, you can't really do that. You can like sort of help each other out, but there's no like clear-cut thing to go to. Hey, I wanna have some fun with my friends. I'm gonna do blah blah blah. And dungeons could be that blah blah blah. So everything I just previously said is the reason why I really want dungeons to be a multiplayer experience. Now, let's get into the second topic I want to cover. Different classes. Now, currently in Skyblock, there aren't any classes at all. You just put on some armor and you deal tons of damage with your sword or bow. And to add some variety to dungeons, they should add a tanking class, a healing class, and if they can do it properly, a major wizard class. Now, let's talk about the first class I previously mentioned, the tank class. There are already tanky armor in the game, such as Perfect Diamond, Mastiff, and Diver, but nobody uses those armor sets because there is no point. And by me saying there's no point, that just means that there aren't any enemies in the game that require you to have that high defense. The only armor sets that actually sees use is Massive, because Fen deals true damage. So if dungeons could have a boss where you'd actually require somebody to be tanky so your whole team can survive and deal damage, that would be a really cool and neat thing to see. And also another thing they need to add with the tank is being able to like taunt or like an aggro, so the boss will only focus them. There's no point in you being tanky if the boss isn't going to hit you and they're just going to kill all your friends anyways. Now let's get into how they could theoretically implement the second class I talked about, the healing class. Now currently there isn't any way to heal other players except using your overflux orb. So if they really want to do healing properly, they'd need to like create an item that could like heal other players whenever it became used. One of the items they could add for the healer class is a healing staff. Whenever you right click, it heals everybody around you for 500 HP and costs a lot of mana. Just something simple like that would be greatly appreciated. even right now, there is no way to heal other players. You can heal yourself, but not other people. Now, the third and final class they could add is a mage class. There are already sort of some mage-like items in the game, such as the Ember Rod, but they hardly see any use. If they wanted to do a mage properly, they'd need to add a like a meteor staff or something that can like summon lots of fireballs and could actually deal some amount of damage and not just like 125 or however many the Ember Rod does currently. To make mages and healers more interesting, I think they should revamp the intelligence system. Make intelligence so that the more you have it, the more healing and damage you can do instead of just giving you mana. Also, having higher intelligence should allow you to regenerate your mana faster so you can like cast more spells. Now, to make all these different classes actually interesting, they're going to need to add in different types of armor. So they definitely would need to add some healer armor that if you have the full set bonus or whatever, some piece, it increases your healing by maybe 50% or 20%. Another example they could do is some mage armor where having the full set increases your magic damage and lowers the cooldown of maybe a specific item or just your ability cooldowns in general. And the reason why having these different classes is important is because you want people to be able to play how they want to play. So if somebody really likes supporting their allies, you should allow some players to have that option. Or if somebody really enjoys like taking aggro from bosses and kiting, then they should be able to play a tank class, you know? Because right now, there isn't any variety. There isn't even any classes at all. You just hit things with your sword to deal top damage, and that's pretty much it. Which is just a shame because they can definitely do a lot more with Skyblock. There's pretty much limitless potential. So the main takeaway from this section is just add different classes and do a tank, healer, mage. And because we already have a DPS, we already have people who can deal lots of damage with swords. So just add those three and we'll be good. The final main point I want to bring up is replayability. Currently in Skyblock, there isn't much replayability to the game at all. Most people right now, if they're one of the top people, just run around in the end, one-shotting zealots at Mach 5 speed, or doing Slayer quests for the 5,000th time. With dungeons, that could easily change. If dungeons have a unique layout every single time, and unique bosses with those layouts, that could be something never seen before in Minecraft. If these bosses have different weaknesses and strategies to implement, that would be fantastic. With most of the bosses currently in Skyblock, there isn't any strategy at all. With the Ender Dragon, you shoot your bow, and then if he stands still, you run it, hit your sword. Or with Slayer bosses, you just get yourself into a corner so you don't take any knockback. Look, I'm not asking much for these bosses. As long as they have unique mechanics, even if they're super simple, that'd be enough. Or even just give them something other than the default zombie or spider AI. Because killing zombies and spiders is insanely easy. And that's essentially what you're doing with Slayer quests, except they run really fast and deal lots of damage. So anything with a better default mob AI will go a very long way. Now, let's get into the layout aspect of dungeon. If the layouts have, you know, special traps you have to solve, or even like special mini bosses, that will also go a very long way in increasing the lifespan of the dungeon. The last point I want to bring up, which is the main point, is I don't want this to just be a stat check like Slayers and the Ender Dragon. Everything else in Skyblock, it's just like, hey, either you can do it or you can't, and there's not really much in between. Either you can one-shot zealots or you don't, and then you don't even do it at all. And even if you do one-shot zealots, you also then need to run really fast. It also goes the same way with Slayer. You need at least a, aspect at the end and unstable dragon armor to even have a chance at thinking of doing that. And It's pretty much black and white with how those things work. My last and final point with dungeons is that I just don't want it to be a stat check. I like to see there be a little bit of a learning curve on how to beat the bosses and the mini bosses in the game. Sort of like how it's in other games where you slowly learn more and more about the game and then you slowly become better. To illustrate my point about it just being a stat check, I'm 100% sure I could teach a 5-year-old one strategy to beat all 3 different Slayer bosses in 5 minutes. And you can't do that with any video game. You can't just teach a 5-year-old how to play a game and then expect him to, with ease, win the game and do really well. That's just not true. But with Skyblock, pretty much is true because all the Slayers really ask is, hey, do you have enough damage to beat me and enough armor to survive? Which is just really dumb. That's my final point on dungeons. Just please don't be a stat check. That's all I ask.